Welcome, everyone. This is the session on easy tips for increasing student engagement. We have Stephanie Brantley and Laura Fogel and Meg Carmen, all from Duke University School of Nursing, to tell us a little bit about how they are increasing student engagement in their program. Stephanie earned her master's in library science from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and currently serves as an educational design specialist at Duke University School of Nursing. She has 5+ years of experience working with online educational technology. Welcome, Stephanie. And Laura Fogel has over 20 years of experience in ed tech and holds a bachelor's in electrical engineering from Duke and a master's in instructional technology from NC State and an instructional technology specialist license. She's developed online graduate courses on a variety of educational technology topics and has written for Tech and Learning, Pearson Education, and Meridian. She currently serves as an educational technology specialist at the Duke School of Nursing. And I am your facilitator today, Tricia Gordon from the University of Virginia. Welcome, Stephanie, Laura, and Meg, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Tricia. And I just want to take a minute to introduce Dr. Meg Carmen. She's on the faculty here at the Duke School of Nursing. She earned her doctorate of nursing practice from Duke in 2010, and she is currently an assistant professor here and teaches in our accelerated bachelor's of nursing program and our DNP program. So we're really excited that she could join us this morning and give you the faculty perspective. Several of the things that we're going to talk about are from her courses.
Good morning.
So just to give you a little bit of context about the School of Nursing, we do have several different programs, 3 of which are primarily distance-based, where students' primary interaction with the faculty and other students is through Sakai. And the tips that we're going to share with you today are taken directly from those courses. And Dr. Carmen is going to pipe in here and there about the way that she uses some of the strategies in her courses. And we have some examples from some other faculty that we'll be sharing with you too. But first, we want to take just a minute to get to know who is in the audience. Although we don't have a microphone to pass to you like the man on the slide, if you could just in the chat tell us what institutions you represent or what organizations and what your role is there, so we just have that so we can speak maybe more to what your perspective is. Hello.
There we go. We've got quite a few folks responding.
So at different points in the presentation, we'll have questions for you to respond to, but do please feel free to post questions and comments in the chat throughout the session. We really would like for you to be engaged since the presentation is about engagement, and we really want it to be informal and a conversation. I see from the people that we have joining us in the room that there is a lot of expertise in the room. So thanks for being here, and we'll do our best to keep up with what's in the chat. So none of us want to have this student as our student drooling on the keyboard, and we intuitively know that it's good to have students engaged, and research also tells us that not only is it nice to have students engaged, but it's really important for the students' success and for the success of our institutions in terms of retention rates and graduation rates. So we want to define exactly what we mean by engagement. So this is one definition that we found in the literature that was somewhat representative of what engagement is. And I will not read it to you, but I do want to call your attention to the fact that it mentions interaction. And really, as Stephanie and I were reviewing the literature, interaction is really the theme that came through over and over again as a key in making sure that students are engaged, that interaction between students and the interaction between students and faculty at a lot of different levels. So the three kind of pillars of engagement that we're going to talk about were all addressed by Hampton and Pierce, and so we're going to use that as our framework today. First, community building and how you connect, and then talking about having different kinds of materials that you share with students, and then the way that you share those materials and the way that the interactions are structured are the different strategies that we're going to talk about. And then we'll look at tactics within each of those strategies. And I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to talk to us about strategy number one.
Hello, everyone. First of all, for strategy number one, we wanted to kind of give a definition, or not necessarily a definition, but to quote the literature that we have found about this particular strategy. It says that online learning is more solitary, and students report that they feel somewhat disconnected from the class when they take an online course. So in order to combat this feeling of isolation, we must design online courses with community building in mind. We're going to share 3 ways our faculty implement this strategy. First one is the image on the homepage. Typically, a student's first exposure to the instructor in the course is through the course homepage. Having a picture on the homepage of a course makes students feel more connected and establishes the teacher presence. As you can see here, we have one of our professors who teaches the Trends in Genetics and Genomics course. She has her information displayed right underneath the information about the course title. So I have one question for you all. So during, we were actually in a previous session about using templates. And so I think it would be interesting to hear from you all, how many of your institutions have a template in Sakai that the faculty are encouraged or required to use? This isn't a requirement for the School of Nursing. We have found that this professors who do use this method, the students do report an increased sense of connection.
So I posted that question in the chat if you didn't catch it. It's interesting. Kristen said that at Chapel Hill, it's a suggestion but not required, which is the same as it is here at the School of Nursing, that it's kind of just is a starting point, but then people can edit their course site as they see fit.
All right. So thanks everyone for contributing that, and that's always interesting to see what other schools are doing and putting into practice. Mm-hmm. So the second pillar or second part of the community building we wanted to talk about were introductions. Introductions play a large role in orienting students to a class and are a second way you can promote a sense of community within an online course. According to Matternock, instructors who create and integrate personalized multimedia components in their courses may benefit from increased student satisfaction with the course. One of our faculty, Dr. Schneider, uses the VoiceThread tool that has been integrated into our use of AI for introductions. And so I'm just going to play real quick a little clip from her VoiceThread video.
Hello, welcome to the Oncology Specialty 1. I am Dr. Susan Schneider, and I'm going to be teaching our course this semester. I always like to say that I learn as much from you as you do from me, and so I'd like to start out by giving a brief introduction to myself.
So her own introduction is an exemplar for students, and they create voice threads of their own, which are available to everyone in the course. And other faculty members use blogs or discussion forums to introduce themselves to each other. So the next one we wanted to talk about was frequent interaction. So the third way to build community is to design activities that include frequent interactions between students. Literature tells us that group work is dreaded by students and faculty alike, but it is essential to learning, both content and workplace skills. The question for many is, how do we structure it effectively in online courses? One important component to meaningful group work is to make sure there is enough work for everyone to do and have specific roles for different group members. In one of Dr. Carmen's classes, students are assigned to groups of 5 or 6 students. They stay in that group throughout the semester and complete projects together. A little bit later, you'll see an example of the work one group did, and you'll be able to see some of their interactions with each other. So with the 3 community building options that we had, the instructor image, the introductions, via video or blog, or the frequent interactions with group work, do you use any of these techniques to build community, or any other ones that might fall under the category of community building? Do you feel that they are successful or not successful?
And Dr. Carmen, did you want to add anything to the interaction and group work for the experiences you've had with that?
Well, Stephanie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The group, the work that we've done is actually for the acute care nurse practitioners. And so we have used the virtual interactions to do distance-based simulations for nurse practitioner students. So they're assigned throughout the semesters to a specific simulation group so that they're working as they would be in the clinical environment. And they run through these virtual simulations to promote that sense of community, but also for team building as they would if they were working in the hospital.
Thanks. That's great, Dr. Carmen. And thanks, everyone, for contributing in the chat.
So Tricia asked what tools we use for our virtual interaction video conferencing. So Adobe Connect is the primary thing that we use for synchronous class meetings. But we'll talk about in a few minutes another tool that Dr. Carmen uses, that's Zoom, that she uses for for online office hours. All right, so thanks again, everybody, for sharing. This is Laura again. I'm going to talk about strategy 2. And so now that we've established connections between students and faculty and among students, how do we help students engage effectively with the course content? Students report, according to some of the research that we read, that they're more engaged when they have a variety of content types, and that varying the way we deliver content helps students stay engaged and improves their retention over time. So the thing that comes to mind, I think, naturally for all of us when we think about higher ed in particular is the stand and deliver faculty lecture. And one way to make online lectures more engaging is to include either a still picture of the instructor or what I call the talking head, where you actually have a video of the instructor in a side-by-side with their presentation materials. And anecdotal evidence that from our specialists here at the School of Nursing say that students really prefer being able to see their instructor, and research says also that the videos help students can form a connection with their students. Our experience is that sometimes instructors are hesitant to include a video of themselves. We're all more or less self-conscious about being videotaped and being on camera. They may prefer just having a narrated PowerPoint, but we try to encourage people to at least have a still picture there so that the students can make that personal connection with who their instructor is. So that's part one, faculty lectures. So another type of resource that we can use to keep students engaged is bringing in other speakers. So in this example of this course, the primary instructor for this section of the course invited an instructor in a different section to be a guest lecturer for them. So that's an easy way to kind of share the load of lecture, is to have people from other sections participate in lecturing for your course. And then we also, in this course also, there's an expert outside of the department that you see pictured there at the bottom, and she's one of our research librarians, and she provided the students with some helpful tips for completing their research assignments in the course. So this is a way to broaden the kinds of lectures that the students see. And most instructors that we have who use guest lecturers just have the lecturer either come in and record here on site or at their own location and send the content. But an interesting innovation that one of our faculty members is doing that I just learned about recently is they actually sit with their guest lecturer and have kind of a back and forth. It's kind of an interview style where the primary instructor for the course asks questions of the guest lecturer to try to make the connections to the core content. So that's just another way that you can sort of do the structure of the guest lecture portion. Next, we talk about the course materials other than lecture. Oh, we have a question. So the video, typically, I think most of our instructors redo their lectures every semester. I guess it varies from course to course. That is one of the challenges with having the video feed of the lecture. If something, the clinical content may change from year to year in the medical field. So, and in other fields too, I'm sure that happens. So if you have the person doing a video of the lecture and you want to replace just one slide, that's a little bit more challenging. Oh yeah, I should have repeated. So the question was, if the guest lecture approach is done per semester, is the video updated every term, or is it used for multiple semesters and offerings? And so that really varies from course to course. So now to talk about course materials. So Typically, we think of textbooks and peer-reviewed journals as kind of the bread and butter of course materials. Including other types of content helps students to connect the course material to their personal experience. So as you see in this example, this is one of our faculty members, Dr. Ellie Smith. She uses a mix. She does have some peer-reviewed journals there, but she also has readings from government and organizational websites. And then in the videos there, those are optional videos. The lectures are in a separate link, but those videos include documentaries and TED Talk. So that's a way to help the content to help the students relate to the content. Another really strong way to help students relate to the content is through case studies. And I imagine that you're all familiar with using case studies. I read some research that said that they can play a really important role in engaging students in the online environment. According to one author, Saha, the use of case studies in online courses really helps students make connections between their coursework and the practical applications required in real-life situations. In addition, when case studies were implemented as part of group work, that student engagement was enhanced. So case studies help students take the course content, learning, and apply it to the real world situations. And in this course, you can see they did the case study through the forum tool, and they were broken into groups, and each group had a different case study. And the way it was structured, the students within the group had a protected area in the forum where they could discuss the case. And then they shared it with the whole class in a forum that was open to the whole class. And then the class could give them feedback about that forum. So by the end of the term, everybody had seen all of the cases presented. So we're curious, how do you use forums to engage students? And do you use case studies in other ways? So the last tactic in this strategy of diversity of resources is the hands-on application of skills and or performance tasks. And this is really important in the medical field, but obviously challenging in a program where the students are meeting primarily online and you're not in the same room with them. How do you see them practicing the hands-on skills? So this is an example from Dr. Carmen's class, and she has a very innovative way to let her students participate in hands-on skills when they are in their remote locations spread all over the state and the country. So following didactic sessions on particular topics, they meet in their small groups that she talked to us about a few minutes ago in an online meeting room. So this is in an Adobe Connect session. That's a bit of a tongue twister. And the students practice the skills that they learned about in their didactic session using a simulation. So on the screen you see on the left-hand side, that's a simulator. And then on the right-hand side, so the simulator is shared from Dr. Carmen's computer. And then on the right-hand side, you see you'll see the different students in the group. This group of students only has 3 students, and you'll see them interacting around the content in the simulation. And you'll also notice that at different points, Dr. Carmen comes in and, she's in the session the whole time, but that you'll hear her guiding them with questions as they work through the simulation. So we'll listen to that.
So what are your differentials here that you're thinking about decompressing her? What do you think it is?
Well, it's either Veracity or non-Veracity bleed. Probably a Veracity, perhaps.
You think it's a
she's having
Veracity bleed?
an epigastric pain, so it seems more like a pancreatitis.
Oh yeah.
It could be both.
If you think it's a variceal bleed, so think about the onset and the history and all.
I don't think it's.
If it's variceal, are you going to put a tube down her?
No, because you could rupture.
No. We do want to do an endoscopy, right? So the endoscopy would be first.
So that's just a very short clip. The entire simulation runs for much longer, but that gives you a flavor of how the students interacted pretty seamlessly, I think, considering that they are in 4 different locations if you count Dr. Carmen was somewhere else. And how powerful this is as an intermediate step from, the classroom content delivery to the clinical setting, this great intermediate step.
Laura, one really interesting thing about this that you can't see here is that we hire a standardized patient. And so I'm sitting in the room with the simulator, but the view on the WebEx, on the meeting session, they interact with a patient. So they've received the past medical records for the patient before they come to the simulation appointment, and then they gather the historical data. They'll ask the patient, have you had a fever? When did the vomiting start? Where is the pain? And then the faculty get on screen with the students, and the students will say, now I want to listen to the lungs, now I want to palpate the abdomen, and so they'll guide us, and we only do what they tell us to do a physical exam on this standardized patient who we've hired.
It's thanks for adding that, Dr. Carmen. It's a very fascinating, exciting simulation to watch. Stephanie and I have had the privilege of being able to see it, and it's really cool. All right, we're going to move on to strategy 3.
Okay, so strategy 3, we have 3 things that we wanted to talk about. And according to Hampton and Pierce, the use of a combination of synchronous and asynchronous teaching methodologies, facilitates student involvement and success. So when talking about online courses, there are many variations. These can include flipped, blended, web-based courses, but by combining elements from these different delivery methods, we can make distance learning more engaging for our students. The first one we wanted to talk about was face-to-face. Typically, you don't think of a distance-based course as having a face-to-face component. A thoughtfully planned in-person meeting can be a powerful addition to a course that is primarily online. Here at the School of Nursing, a few of our programs require students to attend on-campus intensives, or also known as OCIs. And they could span several days and happen once a semester. Students are informed prior to the start of the program of the expectation that they attend all of the OCIs. If a student is unable to attend, they receive an incomplete for that course and must make it up the next semester in order to get full credit. The benefits are you are able to have the student-to-student interaction, the faculty-to-student interaction, to continue to build that community as we talked about earlier. It also gives you the opportunity for more natural discussions It is a perfect place to do more hands-on practice than can be done via the internet, which obviously can be challenging. But as technology comes around and is becoming a little bit easier, as shown by Dr. Carmen's innovative simulations, the methodology needs to match. Not all programs or even individual courses within a program have the need to utilize the in-person meetings. The methodology needs to match the curriculum needs and the needs of the student. So does anyone that's in this meeting have any programs that are similar to this, that they require a face-to-face component of their online learning? How are they perceived by students and faculty? While implementing something on this large programmatic scale is difficult, you can implement it and reap some of the benefits in individual courses, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So it looks like a great discussion is happening on the chat. Just want to touch base with that for a second before we go on.
So it looks, Linda posted in the chat that they have a blended approach with their EMT program, which is so partially online, partially face-to-face. Great. And it sounds like at UNC, they're also, Sharon talked about having online health records. Ended. All right.
All right, thanks everyone for your responses to the questions. So the next part we wanted to talk about was the synchronous sessions. As you can see, a lovely picture of Laura and I as we were demonstrating a Zoom meeting. And no, I actually don't have my doctorate, but Laura was being a little facetious in this in this session. So course-based synchronous sessions are more often optional, with recordings posted for students unable to attend. They can be done in a variety of ways, and some instructors have whole class synchronous sessions, but many have small group ones to allow for discussion. The synchronous sessions can be used for many different purposes, one being the lecture itself. Some of our faculty have weekly synchronous sessions where they deliver the lecture, and then it is recorded for students who can't attend so that they can view it asynchronously. Then you have small group discussions, as well as online office hours. Dr. Carmen is one of the ones who offers the online office hours, and she offers a set time that she's available via Zoom, via webcam, and students are encouraged to join if they have questions or concerns. Dr. Carmen, do you have anything to add to that?
It's interesting. Many times don't take advantage of the voluntary office hours. I've been surprised at that, but I will just kind of sit there in the room and they may go in and out. Sometimes it's very rich conversation, but I have found that they tend not to come.
Okay. I think this is something that could be, possibly promoted more, and as the students become more, I guess, used to the idea of the blended aspects, that it might become more of a more used case, I guess.
How do you, Dr. Carmen, how do you decide on the times that you offer those sessions?
Well, I had found that I needed to step it back a little bit this semester, because I was doing them at 7 and 9 o'clock at night to capture the people that might not be available on the West Coast. I had one student in Tokyo at one point. This semester, we tried it at lunchtime Eastern Standard Time and just said, these are the school's hours, and that is official for the school. So we do it from 1 to 2, but we gave them enough advance notice that they could request that time off or try and plan out their lunch period in case they were at work.
That's great. Thanks, Dr. Carmen. And so in the interest of time, we're going to continue on. So the other part we wanted to mention about the synchronous sessions was that since online students may have the expectation that the course is asynchronous, it is important to offer many options for synchronous sessions if you were expecting them to attend. One of our faculty, who teaches a course with 150 students, offers 15 synchronous sessions per week to accommodate her students' schedules. So during the first week of the course, they were asked to complete an online Google form with their top 4 preferences. And this is just, this isn't the whole form that we have posted here because it was a little large for the demonstration part. And then the students were then assigned a set time each week that they are expected to attend. And one way that the synchronous sessions work is to implement a flipped classroom model, which is how this particular professor, Dr. Walker, does utilize her synchronous class meetings. So with this flipped classroom, the students are expected to listen to the lecture that's been posted online in Sakai prior to the meetings. And they are supposed to come to the synchronous sessions prepped for discussion. And the sessions take place in Adobe Connect, which is what the image is showing here, where the instructor is able to display the slides and annotate them to clarify or expand on key concepts that arise during the discussion. So now moving on to
summarize the different strategies that we've talked about here, and just to open it up for questions or any additional comments. And we will post our presentation to the virtual conference site, and because we do have reference pages in the PowerPoints if you wanted to get back to any of the articles that we quoted, that those will be available to you too.
So Laura and Stephanie and Meg, I have a question. There are some folks here at UVA who think that that Sakai would not support them well for online programs. What response do you have to that mindset?
Well, Sakai is our primary platform for supporting all of our online programs at the School of Nursing. I mean, we do use some LTIs, but most of the content is delivered through Sakai.
Are there any? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say there's so many aspects to Sakai. I'm wondering what aspects they feel wouldn't work.
Right. Well, so let me turn that around and ask a question. Are there any gaps in Sakai that you think would enhance or improve its use for online programs?
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to, no, you go ahead. I've asked a question.
that class that, well, there's a couple different classes that I can think of that use forums in a very intensive way with a lot of specialized permission settings that is tedious to set up in Sakai. And we have been looking for LTIs that would do forums better than what we're currently using. That's been a source of frustration.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so it's good to at least identify things that could be improved for online programs, because I personally think it, and as you've demonstrated, it serves very well to support online programs. So really, you guys provided a lot of great ideas and captured it and structured it in a really great way for the rest of us to think about and use. So thank you so much for presenting today, and we look forward to hearing more from you guys about how it's going.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody for participating in the chat. It was great to have the interaction there.
Absolutely. Good participants.
Especially
All right.
to Dr. Carmen, thank you for joining us.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, everybody. And so we've got 10 minutes just about until the next session starts.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.